Chennai Super Kings' problems this season might be related to the loss of a skill they proudly possessed during all those years they were successful. They also seem to have taken a puzzling selection decision in their loss to Gujarat Titans, while a bizarre ending gets us our first super over of the season. All this and a lot more in today's episode of the 23rd Yard Club Cricket Podcast. Sunday this IPL could not have been more contrasting to the kind of day we had on Saturday. After nearly 1,000 runs were scored across 4 T20 innings on the previous day, there was a mighty respite for the bowlers as batters struggled to find any rhythm to their batting for most parts in the matches 37 and 38 of the IPL. The Super Kings were blown away in the power play, and by the time they showed any signs of recovery, it was a case of too little, too late. The definition of a bowling-friendly pitch at most grounds in this year's IPL has changed drastically. It's the one in which around 200 can be defended, and CSK's 158 against Gujarat Titans was always going to be below par. Chennai captain Ruturaj Gaikwad called the Chepauk pitch a bit challenging for his batter at the start. A little up and down bounce, difficult to play the shots, and admitted that he did not expect the surface to behave in that manner. And it's hard not to believe it because Chepauk's more recent history, both at international and IPL level, shows you that you need to be around 200 to feel good about your chances if you're batting first. What was different was this was a day game. So scores might need to be a little adjusted mentally, but even after that, Gaikwad would be right in feeling a bit aggrieved with the way it played out. It was quite refreshing, in fact, to hear him talk about his struggles when he told coach Stephen Fleming during the strategic timeout that as hard as he was trying, he was just not able to hit it, just not able to decipher what he needed to do.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
And in his post-match interview, Gaikwad admitted that he even told Fleming that he was trying to be positive, he was trying to be aggressive, he was even waiting for the ball to come at a pace which the last delivery had come at, but some were popping up. Some were coming in too quickly, and some were just not bouncing or just not coming up as easily as you would have thought. Some part of batsmanship in T20 cricket is to predict what a certain bowler will bowl and how would the pitch behave in the course of an over and in the course of an innings, and then use your execution skills to score off it. Now, that's probably oversimplifying it, but in plain English, that's how things work in this format. And unfortunately for Gaikwad, the latter of those things, the predicting bit, was just not working out for him. This was evident to the naked eye as well. Gaikwad was on 20 of 37 at one stage, the kind of start that would be frowned upon even in ODI cricket today. It was of the 37th ball that Gaikwad was hit hard on his body, and he needed physio attention that took some time off the game, and suddenly everything changed, and in a jiffy as well. He smashed 2 sixes in that very Arshad Khan over, and a third one of the first ball of the next one. In a matter of 6 balls, he had more than doubled his score and eventually remained unbeaten on 74 of 60. It took just one to come off the middle of the bat, and the rest, as they say, was history. Now, this brings me back to their batting coach Michael Hussey's interview from the start of this IPL's tournament. He had revealed that one of the strongest aspects of CSK's cricket is their ability to gauge the pitch quickly and judge what might be a good total on it. CSK in that game, incidentally, had been bowled out for 127 batting first and that was a match in Guwahati, making a big hash of it. And while they have slowly gotten back to doing exactly that, reading pitches much better, yesterday was another example of being woefully off the mark in assessing the wicket. Whether it was a hangover from having watched Punjab Kings, Delhi Capitals, Sunrisers and Rajasthan Royals bat the way they did on the previous day, or a confidence from the recent winning run, the top 3 Super Kings batsmen looked to be in a strange kind of a hurry. And in some ways, they might have been a tad unlucky too. Samson's technique has become so unique to this format and worked so well for him that it's pointless pointing out to his so-called bad technique to assess his dismissal. Instead, I would go on to say that on another day, his edge might have flown over the keeper for a 4. Urvil Patel, coming in to the squad as well, hit a boundary of the very first ball of Rabada, but then attempted another even more aggressive shot down the pitch, and he holed out. Again, in this day and age of cricket, T20 cricket especially, it's not difficult to see that the ball would have flown away anywhere but the fielder. Same with Sarfaraz Khan, who top-edged one to the keeper. The problem for CSK was that every time they tried to go after it, the edges went to hand, and that sucked the rhythm out of Gaikwad's batting at the other end as well. And why I say that is because Gaikwad had begun well. He had begun his innings with 2 fours of the first 2 balls that he faced, and then as wickets fell at the other end, he got too busy trying to balance things out between attack and defense and not losing wickets eventually failing to find his touch for a long time. I don't think I have too much problem with CSK's approach, or not as much as one call that left me a little flummoxed. The impact sub, Sarfraz, was brought in as early as the start of the fifth over when they were 2 wickets down. And to me, that made very little sense given the lineup that they had gone up in the 11. And I'm not even talking about Sarfraz getting out the first ball here. If this was going to be their tactic right throughout, then it would have made more sense to carry a seamer in the 11 who would have then taken a new ball, irrespective of whether they got in Sarfraz or some other bowler. Now, they had Anshul Kamboj, but after Khalil's injury, they had brought in Mukesh Chaudhary, and he had done a fair job in the previous game, only to see him lose a spot in the lineup. Akil Hussain was probably expected to hold one end up in the power play on this slightly up and down pitch, but a better option would have been a seamer to do that job at the start of the innings. Now, some might even argue about the futility of bringing in an impact sub as early in the fifth over, and that's a very fair point as well. It can be used, this rule, this law can be used to either add an extra batting or a bowling option for the second innings, or bolster the batting late in the innings if things have gone south in the first 10 or so overs. Like was the case when Manish Pandey was asked to pad up in case they needed him in the day's second game. KKR had slumped to 73 for 6 in 11 overs and then lost Ramandeep in the 15th over. But with Sunil Narayan still left, they had Pandey waiting to go in eventually if needed. He was not required as Rinku Singh took down Digvesh in the final over and pushed KKR to what seemed like a power score. KKR were then able to use the services of the impact sub to bring in Varun Chakravarti, who then grabbed 2 wickets in the middle overs. Similarly, once LSG's Mohsin Khan had grabbed his fifer, he was replaced by a batter in Himmat Singh, whose 10 ball 19 towards the end ensured that LSG got close enough. There were a lot of other things that happened in the LSG versus KKR game as well, both tactically and from the execution point of view, that made my jaw drop. And we can talk about them too. But one thing that both teams did get right was the use of their impact sub. I don't think CSK did that. Over in the second game, how badly have Lucknow Super Giants stocks fallen? Time and again, I have spoken about how the Ekanna surface can become their fortress given their fast bowling personnel. And time and again, the LSG side has conspired to prove me wrong. Since April 14, 2025, that's last year, LSG has played 8 IPL matches at this ground and has lost them all. They came closest to winning it yesterday, pushing the game into the super over, but Nicholas Puran carried his main tournament form into the super over as well, and KKR found a way to clinch a face-saving win. This was after Mohsin Khan had delivered the first fifer of the tournament and reduced KKR to 93 for 7 and 15 overs. It's even more puzzling for the Super Giants to lose from that point onward. Typically, and this is not every time, but typically T20 matches which go into the super over, it's down to a string of mistakes from one or both sides rather than a collection of on-field brilliance that takes them there. You can come to expect those mistakes to be made in any T20 games, but in a match that goes right down to the last ball of the 40th over of the game, you can expect even more of these errors to come through because it's a pressure situation and that makes it difficult. This LSG KKR game was an ample evidence of this. Take just the final over of both innings. For Rishabh Pant to be left with only Digvesh Rathi to bowl the 20th during KKR innings, despite having reduced them to, as I said, 93 for 7 at one stage, surprising. And for Karthik Tyagi to then bowl 2 waste-time no balls and successive slot balls to concede 16 in the last over of the LSG innings, the mind really boggles. Pressure gets the best of most. But I suppose it becomes even more prominent when a team ranked second last on the table is facing the team ranked last. And Justin Langer, Rishabh Pant and company can defend the decision to send Nicholas Puran to bat in the power play whichever way they want. But for a man to be this out of sorts, to be batting against the best bowler in the opposition in that 1 over in those 6 crucial deliveries, it was not a very high percentage call. But when things have gone the way they have for LSG, it's no surprise that players and coaches and everyone else start to second guess every decision that they take, and it leads to a never-ending loop, a losing loop that's so difficult to get out of. And at times, and at such times, in fact, whether in cricket or in life, the best thing one can do is what Rishabh Pant rightly said. Take a break. And probably take a Kit Kat as well, but not too much of the sweet. Not a very healthy option, but jokes aside, yes, take that break for sure. That's that for me for this episode of the 23rd Yard Club podcast. I will be back soon. Till then, bye-bye.